PDP is bent on the rescue agenda after its convention with a grand plan of getting the APC out of prominence at the center. We take a closer look at their plan and the 2023 election. And the Inspector General of Police says his office or the force did not order any sort of invasion on Justice Mary Odili's Abuja residence and has ordered an investigation into the incident. Hello everyone, welcome to Politics Today live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Wakimale in Abuja, the nation's capital. Let's begin by bringing you up to speed with some of your latest political stories across the land. First and foremost, the Inspector General of Police, Mr. Usman Alkali Baba, has denied any involvement of any sort about his men in the alleged invasion of the residence of the Supreme Court Judge Justice Mary Odili last week. The force in a statement today says the IGP, the leadership of the force, is not aware and did not at any time order police operatives to carry out any of such assignment and has described the reported violation of the sanctity of the residence of the Justice of the Supreme Court as unfortunate and unacceptable. The statement went further to state that the IGP has directed the Force Intelligence Bureau, FIB, to conduct a discreet investigation into the incident, and also directed the Commissioner of Police, Federal Capital Territory, to strengthen security around the street and residents of our Lordship, Justice Mary Odili, to ensure our safety and also to prevent a recurrence of the unfortunate incidents. The PDP seems to have a bragging right, and it's about the successful run of their convention, the National Convention, which ran from Saturday through Sunday. Well, the new chairman of the party, who is waiting to be sworn in, has fired a force shot, saying the APC should be wary and worried about their national convention. The question is that what becomes of the PDP in the coming days, the future of the party? And now the ruling party, there's been warned that they've been careful that the PDP is coming. What could that mean in our politics tonight? Our attention is about governance in the country, the contestation between the two major political parties in Nigeria. Who can do better? Who has a better opportunity and chance to make lives better for Nigeria? So this is what we'll be discussing tonight. But before we get to do that, here are some of your political roundup stories.
The Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, is challenging Nigerian youths to move on despite the challenges they face and focus on building the future they desire. Professor Osinbajo was speaking at the beginning of a three-day National Youth Conference in Abuja to mark the 2021 Africa Youth Day. Also assures the youths of government's commitment to providing favorable environment for them to thrive. Justice Ian Gekwo of the Federal High Court, Abuja, would on January 20, 2022, hear a suit filed by the coalition of northern groups praying for an exit of the southeastern region from Nigeria based on agitations of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra and Nnamdi Kanu. The group had filed the suit in June, asking the court to compel the National Assembly to hasten the exit of the southeastern region before concluding the amendment of the country's constitution.
Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. The People's Democratic Party, PDP, was in the news and has been for the past few days because of the national convention. Issues with leadership and cohesion becomes a major focal point of discussion. So now that they have successfully conducted the national convention and with a new leadership waiting in the wings to take over the helms of affairs, what is next for Nigeria's main opposition party? Well, it's beyond the convention, which is just an event, but the future of the nation's main opposition is at stake. Meanwhile, the PDP is talking tough and sending warnings to the ruling APC about what they term their rescue agenda. The governor of Adamawa State, who was the chairman of the National Convention Committee of the PDP, is giving the APC a quick notice so that it can bring the country together and improve on the economy. Governor Fintiri describes the convention as a very successful one because they were able to put square pegs in the right places. Governor Fintiri is assuring Nigerians that the just concluded convention has re-energized the party to take over the country from the All Progressives Congress APC. Take a listen to Governor Fintiri.
We give glory to Almighty Allah, and I also thank all my colleagues and supporters of PDP across Nigeria for believing and giving us the support that we're able to deliver this credible convention that has reinvented and re-energized PDP to take over Nigeria in 2023. They should expect that we are giving a quick notice to APC and that we have come to take over and reclaim Nigeria so that we can bring and stitch the country together, improve on our economy and infrastructure.
So you've heard the man that was in charge of planning the convention. Well, what is this entire thing? Right? Because look, for some people, it's just an event. It's not more than that. With all of the optimism and positives from the PDP convention, how does the PDP hope to navigate through the landmines and come together to pose a viral opposition to the APC? I'm being joined now by the governor of Delta State, who has also served as the chairman of the screening committee of the PDP. He joins us from Asaba, the Delta State capital. Thank you so much, Your Excellency, for joining us tonight. I guess I should begin by asking you the implication of the convention. You're not new to the convention as a senator, a two-term governor. You're not new to this kind of situation. But look, for a lot of people who are grounded in politics, we know that convention is an event and perhaps a means to an end. The big question is that your party, the PDP, was defeated by the APC twice now, 2015 and 2019. But it does look like your party has one agenda, and that, they say, is rescue Nigeria. What does that really mean? I don't know if the governor can hear me now.
Hello?
Or is somebody having trouble with the connection?
Yeah, hello.
The governor
I can hear you now.
State, who also served as the chairman of the screening committee at the PDP National Convention. There are a lot of issues that came up in respect of the screening, the confirmation of those who ran for office, 21 positions. 3 of them were those that were in contestation, about 18 or 19 or so were those that came as consensus. But I understand now that the governor can hear me now. Thank you so much, Your Excellency. If you can hear me, the question I fired earlier was about the optimism of your party. It does look like, for a lot of the leaders of your party, this is a new start, a new beginning for your party. For a lot of politicians, those who are grounded, we know that the convention is just a means to an end. The journey just began, and your party has said is a rescue mission for Nigeria. What does that agenda mean?
In the first instance, I agree with you that it's just the beginning. At the beginning, it's a good start because we have a very, very friendly national convention in which most of the positions actually were likely the persons contesting were returned unopposed. They're serving for 3 out of the 21. So that sends the right message. It's the right communication to Nigerians that PDP is truly ready. The rescue mission is about our country. We do know exactly what we're in at the moment. There's so much crisis in everything. Crisis in insecurity, crisis in the economy, and a lot of people are truly very hungry. The number of them employed is growing by the day. The youths are becoming very restive, and they are no longer comfortable with the country they call their own. So when you look at all these things and the fact that the economy is thriving every day, and when you look at the kind of budget that is being presented to Nigerians, there is cause to worry that it is something that cannot actually take us in the right direction. So there are lots of issues, and most particularly the insecurity issue in the land, which is growing worse by the day, and that is beginning to impact very negatively, even on the production in terms of agricultural produce. And that is not good enough for our country, because from real insecurity, we may find ourselves in the next few years going to food insecurity. And that will probably be the worst of everything that we can have as a nation. So looking at the totality of all this, you definitely agree with me that we need to retrieve Nigeria from the pathway that we're doing at the moment. It's not the best for us. And I think it's agreeable by all Nigerians that something needs to be done. And that's why we have presented ourselves as a credible alternative to take Nigeria back to the path of progress, to take Nigeria back to a situation where people can begin to build hope for tomorrow. As of today, a lot of our youths, a lot of Nigerians they're feeling very, very bad about the nation. And this kind of situation is not the best for us. We need to recreate hope. We need to make them believe that Nigeria is one, Nigeria is a united country, and that there is hope for a new Nigeria in which we can truly also aspire to do the things that we aspire to do, and where we are confident that our children will have livable places and will not be in a situation where we find ourselves going into very deep insecurity crisis like we have in places like Afghanistan. So we're actually almost at that level now at the moment, and it's not the best for our nation.
I mean, for someone like you, you are a very, you've been in the PDP for years and years. And after every major convention, there's always the need to clear the table of some of the issues that are left. For example, the absence of the former president, Goodluck Jonathan, his vice, Namadi Sambo. Naturally, these are supposed to be the leaders of the party because your party does not have a sitting president. But those two were conspicuously absent at that convention, which to some analysts, they believe that something is still wrong with the PDP in terms of cohesion, in terms of unity. How do you explain that kind of absence of such political figures that should be leading the ranks of the PDP?
In the first instance, I believe that communications were made with the former president, Goodluck Jonathan, who already had some prior engagement outside the country. He had promised I was going to look at his program to see if he would be able to attend, but at the last moment, 2 days to the time on Thursday, we were informed by the governor of Bayelsa State that he would be unable to attend the convention because he had previously giving commitments somewhere outside the country, and he had to meet up with that. However, I think that the PDP is very cohesive, and we're working together. They are leaders and fathers of the party, we do agree, but we're continuing to keep ourselves together, and you can find that we are truly, truly very united and working together, and the message was clearly sent at the convention that took place 2 days ago. The message was very clear that this is a united family, this a family that has been recreated to give hope to Nigeria. I cannot immediately tell you now why the former vice president was not able to attend, because we expected him at the convention ground, so I've not had time to have any communication as to why he was not able to attend. But you're also very much aware that PDP is still very strong in Kaduna State, where he comes from, and I'm not aware of any real issues in the place. I do hope that he may have had some reasons why he was not able to attend, and that we can find out later.
In the run-up to the 2015 election, the dominance of governors in the PDP, to a large extent, some will blame the problem of the PDP at that time to the dominance of the governors. And you can also see the dominance in this very convention. Almost all the positions that are backed by the governors of many of the states were validated, from the position of Ambassador Arakpaja to the position of even the national chairman. I mean, there are a lot of these positions that we knew the stance of the governors and how they stood. And some forces in the PDP have the opinion that ex-governors, some leaders in the party, are being sidelined. How does a party handle this kind of thing? Or what can you explain on behalf of your colleagues and the criticism against the governors in the PDP that it does look like their dominance is becoming over dominating the party and its affairs?
In the first instance, I don't think I would like to agree with you that the governors are dominating the party. The language dominance is a very strong language. I don't think it's a strong word, and I don't think that that word is right for this appropriate instance. The real truth is that governors, as leaders of the party, have the right to sit together to give guidance to the party, and I believe that that was exactly what did happen. If you watch what did happen in the North, you find that there were different levels of consultation, and the communication was clear, because at the beginning, a lot of leaders met in the North, including the name of Senator Yochayu did prop top, and at that level, there were arguments on all sides. And after that, I know that they did resolve to go back to their various zones to throw up national chairmanship aspirants from the three zones of the Northwest, North Central, and Northeast. And at the end, when three different persons did emerge, they did come back to a meeting in which, of course, there was a lot of discussion. And at the end of the discussion, the other two aspirants that emerged from the Northwest did step down from Senator Yochayu. So for somebody like Governor Shema to step down for former Governor Shema to step down for Senator Yochayu, there must have been a superior argument at that point in time, because those who were sitting at that level were not just governors, but party leaders, members of the BOT, and many other persons who were involved. And the person of the national chairman comes with a very high level of integrity, high level of experience. Is the kind of person that has the necessary command structure with reasonability of an administrative background that can truly help to keep the party intact, keep the party united, and cause us to move forward as a party in this rescue mission that we're undertaking. You can, looking at Yochayu, you find that he occupies that position within the party where he's able to address everybody, including the governors. He's able to look somebody straight in the eyes and say, yes, I understand your reasoning, but this is right, this is wrong. I think that is the kind of personality we did want, and that was a personality that did emerge. It's a good thing for a party, and I do know that it went through various levels of consultation beyond the governors. The choice was actually not made by the governors; it was made by the North and by the North. And by the time his name was thrown up to those of us in the South, we're happy that we made the right choice, because he's a good man, knowledgeable, a man of that has the integrity level that we really need at this point in time. And looking through most of the positions that eventually went to the various zones, I know that there were different levels of consultation, including the positions in the South-South. We did meet, we did zone the positions, and everybody went back to its various zone to communicate the zoning to the various positions. That's why you find that even some states that don't have governors, sitting governors, came up with very strong positions in the national working committee because of the different levels of consultation. We had enough time, knowing that we're in troubled times, and the fact that if you say you're going for a rescue, you must keep the house in order. And we truly worked hard to keep our house in order. That cannot be said to be dominance. It is a question of respect for each other. In a space where you're actually dominating, you don't give room for others to speak. You become autocratic, but that's exactly not what we did. We gave guidance to the party, and I do know that there are several instances where candidates did emerge without truly the input of the governors. And I think the National Convention and the processes that followed to the convention were actually very consultative. And at the end, it paid off for us, and we give thanks to God.
Some of the, it might be the use of dominance. I mean, I try to find a synonym to that word. It looks to me that the governors, like you said, are the leaders of the party in the state. So it does look to me that they're one of the strongest peer groups within the party. You have the Senate caucus, you have the House of Reps caucus, you have the former National Assembly members. You have all of these peer groups, pressure groups in the party. But it does look like the governors have the most obvious or the most conspicuous presence. But there is a scenario that played out. Maybe or maybe not. It wasn't intentional. But I'll try to bring it up so that maybe there's an explanation for it. Your Excellency, for example, the name of former Senate President David Mark was on the cards. At some point, he dropped out for Senator Yocha Ayu. The name of former governor of Osun State, Olagusoye Oyinlola, came up and he lost to Ambassador Arakpaja. These are former military officers, and it does look like what some of the paper analysts is saying is that there seems to be a navigation of the party led by the governors against some kind of forces in the party. Is it intentional, or is just optic, or there's an explanation for it?
There's nothing truly intentional about what happened. Senator Mark is somebody we all respect, we love. He's a leader of the party that you cannot but respect. And I think that Senator Ayu is also somebody who falls within that personality that we have in the party. Senator Mark eventually, yes, was thought of initially, but the name that came out strong was that of Senator Ayu. And I do know that Senator Mark is somebody who respects some level of hierarchy. I do believe that he felt that Senator Ayu was Senate President well ahead of him, and he defers to him most times. Because I'm aware that in the process of consultation, even before we got to the stage of thinking about who will be the next national chairman, in one of our consultative meetings, well ahead of time, when the governors met with former presiding officers of the National Assembly, former governors and former ministers, and also current officers of the National Assembly. When somebody had to speak for the group, Senator Mark actually deferred to Senator Ayu to speak for the group. That is the kind of personality that Senator Mark is. And that also means that he has a lot of respect for Ayu. And I believe that Senator Mark withdrew because he did not want to go into any form of competition with Senator Ayu. That was what happened. And as I did tell you, the zones eventually went into their levels of consultation, and eventually people like Governor Sherman stepped down for Senator Ayu. I think that's a clear democratic path, a consensus built out of the fact that we wanted the best. We wanted somebody who had a command structure with reasonability of enough administrative capacity to take the party at the moment. As to what happened in the Southwest, yes, there were different levels of consultation. The name of Oyinlola did come in, Arapaja did come in, but in the wisdom of the leaders of the Southwest and the governor, who is the leader of the zone, he has certain reasons to believe that it was best to push Arapaja at this moment. And I think that that issue is settled. Oyinlola is a fine gentleman, and what he opted for was that he would like to run the race to the end, for which we respected his views. If you worked during the convention, all the governors, former Senate presidents, Senator Mark, Senator Bukola Saraki, were all walked up to him to try to talk to him at the last moment. And he reassured us that he was happy with everything as it was going, that he just wanted to present himself. He would rather want to win or lose on the convention ground. And that was exactly what happened. And you can see that we are back on course, we are happy. One good thing, one good fallout of the whole contest is that to a large extent, the Osun State chapter of the party now appears to be very united. But I still think that the governors tried their best to try to give guidance to the party. Since we don't have a president, somebody must lead. And in trying to lead, it had to be a collective leadership to be able to get to where we are. If we left it loose, it would look like a ship without a captain, and that would not be right for us. But we were sure that at every point in time, there were various consultation levels. We had meetings with all the groups that you talked about now. Before the final decisions were taken, we had meetings with all of them. And those meetings were held on Wednesday and Thursday last week. And
all right.
I think
Your Excellency, to wrap up this conversation, we just have about 60 seconds or so. I'd like to ask you, there has been suggestion as to whether or not your party needs some kind of rebranding, maybe a change of name, considering the allegations by the APC that your party brought Nigeria into the mess that it is right now and they're trying to fix it. That's what the APC alleges. Now, the question is that how will your party be able to navigate through that moment of wanting to rescue Nigeria and telling Nigerians that you can do better than what the APC is doing presently?
In the first instance, we are not competing with them anymore, because looking through the years of the PDP and looking through this past 6 years plus, the difference is clear that Nigerians, I believe that Nigerians are able to see for themselves that the PDP came in at a time when things were really very difficult, and we're able to build a foundation. And that foundation, we started building on that foundation that was laid by the Obasanjo's regime. And we went on. But apparently, it appears that everything is tumbling down. Everything is just going in the reverse in such a manner that is not good for our nation. The level of insecurity, the economy today, look at the time the PDP was in power and when we were living, the Naira to the dollar level, and what it is today. There are too many issues, a lot of issues. We are getting to a state now where we are not even short of food, even for the middle class, not to talk of the very low class. The very high level of unemployment, farmers cannot even access their farms. That was not the situation. Most of the things that we see today that has brought Nigeria on good strikes were actually foundations laid by the PDP. I'm looking through the economic projections to find that we have gotten it all wrong in this current administration. And I believe that Nigerians know the truth, and Nigerians do know that PDP will do much better than the APC. There's no competition, there's no comparison at this level, because the truth it is quite clear that we are actually not moving in the right direction under the APC governance.
All right. Your Excellency, the Executive Governor of Delta State and the Chairman of the Accreditation Committee of the National Convention of the PDP, Governor Senator Okowa, thank you so much indeed for your time tonight. I appreciate your thought that you've shared with us.
Yeah. Thank you for having me on. God bless.
We'll take a break, everyone, and when we come back, the conversation continues on the 2023, the agenda of the PDP. Two men will be joining me. Both of them are very strong, have very strong views about the position of their parties. Anthony Ayilaba, a lawyer member of the PDP, and Alwan Hassan, a member of the APC, about the PDP rescue agenda. Is the APC jittery? Is the PDP ready? We get talking after now. Join us again, everyone. You've heard from a leader and a governor of a PDP, the governor of Delta State, Senator Ifanyu Okowa, earlier on the program. Tonight, we'll again dive and dig into the conversation, the debate between the main opposition party, PDP, and the ruling party, APC. The PDP says they want to rescue Nigeria. The APC says, what is there to rescue? You brought us into this position, but allow them to have the conversation between convincing Nigerians which is the party that they can trust as they go into the election. We have so many other political parties, of course, but these two parties in the last two elections, they've gone to the polls, convinced voters, they've had a talk, and one has come out victorious twice. Will it repeat itself in 2023? Anthony Ahilebo is a lawyer and a member of the PDP, and Alwan Hassan is a member of the APC. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming on tonight. Perhaps because your party has fired the first shot to say, oh, you're coming for a rescue agenda. Let me start with Alwan. They said they want to rescue Nigeria. From what, and you heard the leaders of the PDP said, we're in a bad state as a country. How do you respond to that?
You see, first of all, the PDP has seemed to be forgetting that it has 13 states governed by the PDP. One of those 13 states is the dirtiest state in this country, Abia State.
By what standard?
By every standard.
How do you measure which statistics? How do you measure?
By every standard shown, Abia State is the dirtiest.
No,
and most
are you saying
most
it
remote
state. Are you saying it because you did a survey?
It's there. It's out there.
No,
you see,
I wanted to validate.
I've been to Abia as recent as last year, before the pandemic, and I've seen a state that is governed by the PDP throughout its life, from 1999 to date. And I've seen, you have heard that Benue State cannot even pay salary. Taraba cannot pay salary. The governor of Adamawa State, who happens to be the chairman of the convention of the PDP that went on Saturday, saying he's rescuing Nigeria, he should try and rescue himself from the 1.9 billion naira money laundering in court.
It's an allegation.
But it is in court. Let him clear himself. These guys ran into the states, and that is why we want to sanitize the process in the political parties and our process of elections. A lot of these people, the likes of Fintri and Bala Mohammed of Bauchi State, went into this fold to get rid of the state so that they will have immunity not to go to court. These are guys that have
when you're mentioning names, Alwan, I like us to be careful. Maybe because you're not a lawyer. Anthony is a lawyer. He understands the ramification of throwing up names with allegations.
It's not allegations. These are allegations in court.
Yeah, so I like.
Sean, you are a journalist, you know.
I like us to leave personalities and.
No, but I'm counting the 13 states. If they say they are rescuing Nigeria, shouldn't have they have shown us by rescuing 13 states in the country before coming to rescue the whole country? The same PDP has an uncompleted building calling its own headquarters. In the last 10 years, they can't rescue it. They want to rescue a whole country. Sean, can't we ask questions? These are things, be it a lawyer or not a lawyer, these are people. Ayu has gotten some fund out of the arms deal, 345 million naira.
Yet you are mentioning another name.
But it is in court. It's an allegation in court.
Yeah, but when you say God, I mean, when you say it's an allegation and yet you are making it categorical, is another thing.
The process has not finished.
You can be sued for libel for that.
Excuse me, but the litigation has not finished. It's in court.
That's what I'm saying.
And I have the right to say it.
If the litigation
I am saying
is in court,
alleged.
So I'm just trying to advise you on the choice of words, because when you say they took, you can be sued for libel. That's why I wanted to be careful.
Do I take it again for you to understand?
No. I understand perfectly what you said.
Taraba State has not paid
salary. You on the choice of words.
Sokoto State is battling with its infrastructure in the last 6 years. The governor has just gone to the World Islamic Bank to collect 250 billion naira to improve infrastructure, Islamic infrastructures in Sokoto State. That money, you know where that money will go to. He is seeking for presidency in Nigeria. Guys, you have to becoming a leadership, becoming a leader in the country. You have to have the trust of the people.
Let me allow
For
Anthony
God's sake, the Nigerian people trust President Muhammadu Buhari to steer the affairs of this country, and now to point anybody that is going to take over from him.
How do you respond to what Alon said?
Alon doesn't have a political party.
Is a member of I invited him because he's a member of the APC.
You know, from everything he has said, just reminds me of last week. The APC had nothing else to do but to go and start discussing the underpants or undergarments of a former minister. You see, when you come to talk about real issues that affect the day-to-day living of the Nigerian people, the only thing I always hear from this side of town is this person did this person did that. Shehu, is that going to put food on Nigerian's table? Do you know the rate of hunger in Nigeria today? Do you think we are here to joke? PDP didn't come to play around, though. Shehu, you know, prior to this date, I was someone who wanted to even contest at the convention when I saw what was happening. But in the interest of the greater task ahead of rescuing Nigeria, I think it's important that when we come on national debates and conversations, we talk real issues. Not once has my friend, since he started speaking, spoken about his party. They have nothing to say. It's typical that people who do not have any indices to make noise or even say that they have performed while in governance will come on TV, and how many times did you have to tell him about libel and slander? Instead of putting in focus that his party is ready to hold their own convention, it sounds to me like someone who's abdicating the real issues. And it's typical. Shehu, we are talking about a party that has been able to galvanize. I've been on this show when you asked me, will PDP survive? And I told you that we have mechanisms in place. We have shock absorbers that when we move as a party, over 16 years in governance, and have another 6 years experience, you think the political party is a joke? APC should go and learn from the experience of PDP. Before someone comes to make comments, Shehu, you heard everything the Delta State governor put on the table. The insecurity in Nigeria today is at an alarming rate. You cannot travel safely from Abuja to Kaduna, which is barely 1 hour 45 minutes or 2 hours at the most. You cannot travel without having heart palpitations, without being scared for your life. I remember I was away for a burial. People were calling me, Tony, we are stranded in Kaduna. The train was shut out. So we can no longer, the train was shut down for 3 days. Do you know the panic? Do you know the commotion? You know the number of people that could not travel single Nigerian roads. There are stories that local government no longer have. Lost medical personnel, and they are here. There was an incident that happened in Sheraton. Are you not aware, Shehu? Where they had to send the DSS to go and shoot to scare away doctors who were being poached by people from Saudi Arabia. Everybody's aware that happened.
Anthony, I want to ask the question before I go back to him. Is picked holes in the potentials of those who could be in the forefront of the rescue mission. So he was asking the question that if you're to rescue Nigeria, what have you done to rescue?
I'm going to give you 5 governors of the PDP. 5. And I want to tell me one APC governor that has matched any of these PDP governors in terms of... Let me finish now. Please let me finish. You know the thing, Shehu, you have to really have a way of talking to people who speak for APC. They have to have courtesy and cautiousness when they are on air. Shehu, we are here discussing issues of national importance, and I'm trying to tell you governors who have performed. 5 of them. Go and look at Governor Baseki. You bought him from you, and you carelessly lost him. one of the best governors we have in Nigeria today, and he will admit that. We have Governor Nyesom Wike, who the APC government, the vice president, was the one that nicknamed him Mr. Project. Take it or leave it. We have our star boy, Governor Seyi Makinde of Oyo State, who today people are looking at as the new upcoming Dubai of Nigeria. Look at Governor Okowa. I am giving you governors that have performed. Look at the rates of their development indices, the educational strides of Governor Baseki. If you want to talk about Edo Best, you want to talk about the IGR of Oyo State that has risen. You want to talk about the drop in unemployment. These are statistics we are talking about. These are people who have showed leadership.
All right. Alon, how do you respond to that? I mean, you picked O's in some of the, he has told you, giving you facts. The question is that, can Nigerians trust your party because they said they want to rescue, and it's becoming the narrative that your party used to come into power? You wanted to rescue, you wanted to change Nigeria, but they are using it against you now.
Sheung, I need to tell this to you, and you know. If not for anything, every APC state in Nigeria has a functional state assembly. Edo State doesn't have. And he's here saying the governor is doing well. He doesn't have commissioners. He doesn't have state assembly members.
I think he does have commissioners.
Recently, just last month. But there is no state assembly as it stands today. Is that a democratic state?
There's no state assembly.
And Amanda, yes.
What you're saying.
They don't sit.
Is the speaker of
they
the
don't
state
sit.
House of Assembly.
Have you seen them sit in the show? They don't. There is no state assembly. And this same person, this same person is bringing as the second.
House of Assembly member.
You said decorum. And you're
okay, sorry, you were just making accusations that don't.
No, but allow me to finish. Since you think you're a decent party, allow the ones we see as rugged parties to talk first.
Alon, go ahead.
The governor he's talking about, he called him as the second best governor of the PDP, was in the APC in the last 4 years before 2019. They are now being proud of him. In just a year and a half, he's been manning the state under the flag of PDP without a state assembly. He had a state assembly during our time, for God's sake. So I think I shouldn't even start comparing myself. I can't call in a Malan Nasru El-Rufai, governor of Kaduna State, and compare it with these 5 things he has said. We can't do that. Go to Kaduna and see how Kaduna is turning upside down. He has turned that state to virtually construction site. So what are you talking about? You have a lot of governors in this government that are the PDP and have messed their state. And you come in to tell us, because you don't have shame, you come in to tell us that after 16 years of mess, which we're trying to fix, and we almost have concluded in fixing, you want to tell us that we have done something for 6 years, and you suddenly have a magic wand that will now come and rescue the country. While those people saying rescue the country have allegations in court, litigations going on corruption. You think we would ever pay into that cylinder? We would never do that. Nigerians would never do that shit.
You think there's nothing to rescue?
What is it there to rescue? Rescue their headquarters that they haven't finished in the last 10 years?
They're talking about governance. They're talking about the state of the nation.
What part of the governors do they want to rescue?
Issue of security.
So what part of the governors do they want to rescue if they cannot rescue their own state? They
mentioned the issue of security, the economy. The governor of Delta State mentioned the issue of debt profile.
In our own time, we saw funds to buy Tucanos, and they came into Nigeria to fight banditry. In their own time, they took the money. They stole the money. But in our own time, nobody is talking about stealing arms funds, because we see the arms coming into the country.
That's another thing. Anthony, how do you respond to that?
Again, these people, they don't get tired. The same rhetorics from day one. The corruption. Meanwhile, these are the people that their SGF was cutting grass. Their own SGF. He was cutting grass after we had to go to the National Assembly and insist that how many times did we have to?
There was nowhere we didn't go on design and use Saka. We have just seen a brazier, a bra, worth $15 million.
Can I answer you?
Let Anthony continue.
Go ahead, please. So when somebody who is in a party that doesn't have a board of trustees for 6 years, they can't even put themselves together to function as a party, and he comes here and pontifies about people, individuals, or he mentions a state that I won't go as far as to slander any of your governors. But we know your governors that are taking out billboards everywhere for presidency and have not done anything in their states. The worst in this state. And I'm talking about Bureau of Statistics indices that I can give you. But the question here you asked is how we are going to rescue Nigeria and if the PDP is up to the task. I can assure you, we are not even the ones going to do this task. A lot of things I've said to people is like, the opposition game this time around is not even the political party. It's the Nigerian people you should be wary of. People who, as of 2015, were buying dollar at 191 naira. Cheung are buying dollars today 560 naira, and you think it's a joke for you to come and be telling them corruption, corruption on TV. Are they going to eat corruption? You have depraved the Nigerian people to the extent that I heard a story yesterday that almost made me weep. That people are now going to the corners and mixing things and calling them, because they can no longer afford mayonnaise. They will go to a corner and mix it, and they are selling it to people who are mixing tomato ketchup. The stories, the kind of things that are coming to Nigerians because of this government. A government that came in, the debt profile was 9 billion. Today it is almost 46 trillion. What? We cannot even understand how a government has driven us so low. So low. The average Nigerian has no expectation of life.
I was asking the governor of Delta State whether or not you want to rebrand. Do you think with the present state of your party, you are able to convince Nigerians about your past and what you are hoping to bring in the future?
We've had this conversation a lot of times. The PDP is the only party that has not changed its brand and its consistency in over 21 years in Nigeria. It is a longer-serving party. Why on earth would you change the brand of an umbrella that Nigeria needs today with the kind of storms, the death storms, the kind of insecurity APC has put us into? You definitely need an umbrella that can shield all of us.
So you think your party does not need, after 2015 and what came out from what the APC told Nigerians that they found out about your party, you think there's no need to rebrand?
So do you know the most
perceptions?
Do you know the most beautiful brand for the APC today? That you asked that question and they have been trying to poach, they have been going to visit him, is President Goodluck Jonathan. Does he not just tell you that these people don't even know what they want? Does he not just tell you that these people have no idea about what they came to? They sold the same sort of stories they sold Nigerians pre-2015 is what we have him doing here.
Right.
By corruption, Brazil. But we're talking about hunger indices. We're talking about inflation. We're talking about insecurity. How are you going to make sure that bandits are not advancing towards the Abuja? How are you going to make sure bandits are not planting C4 on our rail tracks? That's the only safe way to get to Kaduna. They are planting bombs, explosives on it, blowing it up, and shooting at the trains that were the safest means of travel. And today, Shen, you think that we should come here and discuss the sort of things he's talking about, that somebody there's arms deal. We should forget all those rhetorics and face the real issues of Nigerians. Nigerians are hungry. Nigerians have not eaten. Nigerians cannot travel safely. These are the main issues that plague Nigerians.
Can you run away from these things that they've said?
How can we run away?
Can your party run away from some of these things that they've brought up?
How can we run away? How can we run away from talking about corruption? First of all, corruption is the radicalizer. Secondly, it turns the people's fund into a feeding trough, which they did. Third, you pick ill-gotten money and invest in legitimate businesses. And you tell me we shouldn't talk about corruption?
Is your party jittery of the PDP?
Why should we? God forbid, Sheun. I keep on telling you this. Why should we? We're the masters of the game. We took these guys out while they were in government in 2015. We can always do it when they're opposition. The government. We've done a lot. Sheun, the money is saying we borrowed or we are borrowing. We are using that money to construct Lagos-Ibadan Road, second Niger Bridge that were on paper during that time, and they siphoned the funds like 3 or 4 times, especially in the second Niger Bridge. 34,000 roads today in this country are under construction. Sheun. All because of the money we borrowed for infrastructure. At least people are seeing it. We completed the train from Abuja to Kaduna, which they started and they couldn't finish. We have built Lagos-Ibadan train. With that same funds he's talking about. We borrow for infrastructure, and it's everywhere in the world. Even the US borrow for infrastructure.
The reason why I was asking that question is because anywhere in the last 15 years, in the politics around the world, not only in Nigeria, when the change idea is muted, it always comes to pass. Government are always changed. hence always changing power in politics. And that's the reason why I'm asking. You use that same narrative against the PDP, you got it. This time around, are you jittery? Are you afraid?
We would never be.
Are you worried that the PDP might use that same narrative you used against them to defeat you in 2023?
These are people with a couple of distrust from the people. There is always the first time to hit a perception you think they can come up with. These are guys that the Nigerian people do not trust. These are people that were in the position of power in the last 16 years and reached themselves and reached their families. A couple of them had a lot of billions of dollars.
You remember that PDP, there was a narrow win. The margin between their candidate and your candidate was a few million in 2019. 2019.
Yeah.
You think they might close that up in 2021?
How can they
2023?
do that? Let me tell you, how can they do that in 2023? They could have done that. There's no way they would do that.
So it brings me to the question, the potentials and the names that have been thrown up in each of the political parties. Are you worried? Are you concerned that these are match for the kind of names that have been thrown up in your party?
How? I have a genius, Seun. I have a national asset to present to Nigeria. APC has the best candidates this country needs.
Like?
Professor Yemi Osinbajo.
Apart from that?
Fashola.
Apart from that?
Governor of Borno State, if you're coming to the north. Former governor of Borno State, Kashim Shettima.
So, can you match those kind of names that in your party?
Sure, we have not even started matching. You remember that Mimiko has just joined the party. You remember that we still have, even Goodluck Ebele Jonathan is still in the party. We still have former Vice President Atiku. You even have Governor Nyesom Wike, should he decide to run. We have Governor Baseki, should he decide to run. We have Governor Okowa, should he decide to run. So the problem is that APC is not a party. This is the biggest problem.
What do you mean by that?
People that don't have board of trustees. People that they don't even have a national working committee. They have a caretaker. How is it possible that you are in power, you cannot even organize yourself? Every APC rally we have seen or convention has ended in violence. In fact, I have suggested that in the interest of national peace and safety, that at least a minimum of 50 ambulances should be waiting at the Eagle Square, because we don't know the outcome of APC's convention.
Are you serious about that? You're joking. We need to close the program now.
PDP surely has solutions to the APC malady that has happened to Nigeria. Because you see, we have taken steps. We have taken steps to organize ourselves. We have taken steps to develop our blueprints for Nigeria, which almost all our candidates, if they come out today, already have these blueprints that APC is copying from.
You just have only 20 seconds.
Sheun, for the set of, he's been calling BOT in the PDP, for the set of people I see, man, in the BOT of the PDP, we better not have one as an APC.
All right, we need to close now. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming and for the conversation. Nigerians are watching, Nigerians are taking note, and they will decide in the end. Anthony Ahilaba, member of the PDP and a lawyer. Alwan Hudson, a strong member of the APC. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming tonight.
Thank you, Sean.
But as our show for tonight, thanks everyone for watching. I'm Sean Wakimale. Have fun.